All right, what is going on, friends? It is bench day. I am waiting for my caffeine to kick in. I've had a real bout of really poor sleep for the last week or two. Those of you who follow the channel might remember that I have had a tremendous amount of issues with insomnia for as long as I can remember. Not a big deal. It's just always been there. So it just means that I have to do an extra good job with my sleep hygiene to make sure that my training goes well. I'm unsure what it is that I'm doing wrong, but I'm sure it is my fault. Things don't randomly just go bad. So I'm going to keep figuring that out, make sure my sleep gets back on point so I can continue what has been a good start to the block. Yesterday was my rest day. The day before that, I hit a fun little session of farmer's carries, stone. I hit a mystery weight stone of steel over about a 55-inch bar PR. That was cool. Then I hit some chin-ups and hammer curls, so kind of like a pull type workout. Rested up yesterday, and am coming in today to do some bench pressing and then some light overhead volume. Should be cool. I don't feel as prepared as I should coming off of my rest day due to limited sleep, but we're going to get her done regardless. I feel as though the videos might be getting a little mundane with all these just volume focused workouts, you know, like today is going to be like 425 pounds for bench volume. Last time was 400 pounds for bench volume. And it's not lost on me that that might be getting a little bit repetitive for you guys. So my apologies there. It seems like people really like the more educational type videos. So it almost feels like lazy to do training logs. But at the same time, I really struggle to come up with videos for the educational side of things that I'm going to enjoy doing. And I also feel that people are going to like, and kind of finding that middle ground. I'm not a creative guy, so those are always kind of hard for me to come up with. So we're going with the lazy content and we're filming the training log today. I washed down my caffeine pill, waiting for that to kick in. And I'm kind of going back to what I always used to do in the parking lot of the YMCA with Max, which is whatever lift I'm training that day, I go watch some videos of someone who's much stronger than me on it, which always gets me fired up. One of the videos that I always go back to is the video of Eric Spoto training with stand efforting, and I think he did either 700 for one or 705 for one on the bench. I'm probably half the views on that video, and it's probably close to 1 million views. So just every time before bench day, that always gets me fired up to just see how strong a human can be and see how close I could get to that. Super fun. That's something I always used to do, something I've been getting back into doing, because it always just puts me in the right mindset to go lift and just like reminds me why I like doing this is I just want to see what I could get to in 5-10 years. So that's fun. Yeah, so we watched that. We're kind of getting in the right space. Feel like death, but usually anytime I feel really off like this, if I make sure I drink a lot of water, I take my time warming up, I get a nice pump, I break a sweat. I feel like shit for my first couple warm-ups until I kind of feel like I'm hitting that stride. Those of you who have done like endurance sports or maybe combat sports kind of know that's the reason. Brian Alsver always mentions it. It's the reason like fighters get into the ring drenched in sweat is because you don't want to have to be still getting warm while you're actually competing. It's better to exert yourself a bit and get over that barrier until you're kind of in cruise mode. So getting into cruise mode for this workout, anytime I'm tired like this, it always takes a little extra doing. But then once I've kind of got that momentum, I can get a great training session in. And then just knowing that it took me a while to get warmed up and I am fatigued, it is on me to maybe bump my calories and go to bed a little earlier this evening so that this is sustainable. It's not just me spending forever warming up over and over and over. So we're going to get after it. Also, check out my my new gym decoration. I got this big old Nate Diaz poster. I was actually looking for a Nick Diaz poster because those of you who know me know that I am a huge MMA/UFC fan. And somehow I've forgotten what my first live fight was. It was either a BJ Penn fight or it was Diaz versus GSP. So, you know, Nick Diaz as a fighter holds a special place in my heart, but I couldn't find a cool poster of him. So I figured his brother would do. I thought that was pretty cool. Looking to decorate the gym a little bit more, create like a cool little atmosphere out here other than just drywall and my whiteboards, the rambling of an unhinged man. All right, just about done with my general warm-ups. We've done our wrist roller to continue rehabbing the wrist. Did some like upper body dynamics, which is just like wrist circles, elbow circles, shoulder circles, some T-spine mobility. I did the couch stretch as I always do before I bench, and then a couple pull downs to get the upper back warm. And now we are warming up on the bench. I'll probably have you guys join me tomorrow as well. I'll be doing some volume front squats at like 375, so nothing exciting there. But I'm gonna try for like 3 working sets of like 3 or 4 reps on the deadlift at 600, which considering I've pulled 800 on paper is not an impressive workout, but I tend to struggle with straight sets. So if I can put in that kind of volume around that 600 pound mark, it should be a very good sign for things to come this training cycle. So I might film that, I might not, because priority number 1 is executing the session well. Priority number 2 might be documenting it, but we'll see what my intuition tells me tomorrow. So we're gonna keep warming up on the bench. I'll probably have you guys join me at like 2 plates. I just don't need to see me do a bunch of reps with the bar, 95, 135, and 185. All right, I cannot figure out why for the life of me, but my triceps are oddly sore coming into this session. I don't know why that might be. I rested yesterday. The day before that was a pretty pure pull workout. The day before that was leg training. So I can't really figure out why that might be, but we're gonna work under the circumstances provided. I went and I did some cable press downs really light for some blood flow. As counterintuitive as it is, you might worry, oh, well, the muscle's pre-fatigued coming in. I don't want to pre-fatigue it before my working sets anymore. That wouldn't be good. But I do find that if you warm up the muscle a little extra, it'll negate some of the effects of like negative effects on strength of the muscle being sore. So we got a light tricep pump, and we're gonna move on to 325 next. All right, that went pretty good. I was lazy and I protracted all the way through on the ladder rep. Not gonna do that on the next one. On to 375. Also, people keep asking me to make a video on what to do with your scaps while benching, because they're like, oh, I always heard back and down, but now people are talking about scapulohumeral rhythm and that you want to actually protract through at the top. And people keep messaging me to make a video on the topic, and I can kind of get the vibe from some of the people messaging me that they're waiting for me to give them some definitive, nice, square answer. These people are right, these people are wrong, and unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? We first have to understand that what we cue is not actually necessarily what happens, right? The simplest answer or simplest example of this is we cue to squat without our back moving. We maintain our back angle, but there is good data to suggest that even in high-level weightlifters, in the bottom of a squat, we're still seeing some lumbar like flexion extension, right? So what we're cueing isn't necessarily what's happening. And that's not a problem, right? Because the cue is meant to make us better at lifting. It's not necessarily to make us do the exact same thing we're cueing, right? So if I see someone and all of the weight is on the inside of their foot, I might tell them to put all of the weight on the outside of their foot. If someone squats with all of the weight on the outside of their foot, that's bad too. But by cueing further in that other direction, we might end up somewhere in the middle. If someone has all of their weight in their heels, I might tell them to put a lot of their weight in the forefoot. Really, we probably want an even split, but what we're cueing is not necessarily the same thing as what's happening. So to say, oh, cueing scapular depression and retraction through the full range in a bench press is a terrible idea because that discounts scapulohumeral rhythm and you're going to destroy someone's shoulder. That's making the assumption that we actually succeed in completely locking the scapular position in, which for most people it doesn't, right? The next thing that we need to understand is we need to understand that scapulohumeral rhythm is a concept. It's not this numerically definable thing. We don't have this ratio of humeral movement to scapular movement that results in pain-free. And if we deviate from this specific range, there's a range, right? And what range results in pain-free lifting more than likely varies from person to person, right? So we kind of have to combine these concepts of, okay, well, what we're cueing isn't necessarily actually what's happening. Good scapulohumeral rhythm is probably a range, just like anything else is. And demonizing one or the other probably isn't wise. So at the end of the day, the answer that I would give to people asking what I think about what to do with your scaps is it depends. If you're someone who, when you cue scapular depression retraction, you get shoulder issues, maybe we give up some of that retraction and focus primarily on the depression. And we allow a little bit more protraction, retraction movement across the bench press. And that's what lets you bench press pain-free. Or maybe you're someone like me and you find that cueing maximal retraction and depression doesn't result in maximal retraction and depression and just leads to a more efficient bench motor pattern. So the answer is both are valid options for different people. And that the only way to find the answer for yourself is to try it, unfortunately. There just isn't some square answer. I think that the whole movement of explaining the concept of scapulohumeral rhythm is good because I think a lot of people were kind of at a point a couple years ago where everyone was saying retract and depress, retract and depress, retract and depress, and their shoulders were hurting. They were just like, well, this is the right way to bench. There is no fluctuation from this. Everybody who's good says the same thing. This is how you bench. So I think that it's good that people understand that there's a range that you can function within now, and that for some people, a greater degree of protraction might be necessary for them to train pain-free. But that being said, I think that some people take it too far and demonize the cue itself when many people go their whole career without an issue with that cueing pattern. So I guess that would be my thoughts. Okay, 375 felt decent. Did my set of pull downs to match. Now we're gonna jump up to the working weight, which I just checked my notebook, and the work weight for today is 420 pounds. We'll see, I'm kind of deciding what the game plan is. You might notice in the video, you might not. It's probably very, very, very small. But I'm taking my grip slightly wider today. Small variability in grip width is something that I've always kind of used on my bench press. Just general philosophy wise, I find that a slightly narrower grip is going to give you a bit more power off the chest, just mechanically, and then make the lockout a bit more difficult. And then wider would be the reverse. Wider would be easier at the lockout, maybe a little harder off the chest. So if one day I feel like, it feels unusually hard off the chest today, I'll bring my grip in very slightly. We're talking like a centimeter. And the reverse, I'll take my grip out very slightly, 1 centimeter. If I feel as though my lockout is sticky, I'll take it wider. Or today where I feel like my triceps are weirdly fatigued for no apparent reason, we're gonna take the grip just probably about 1 centimeter wider. Let me kind of stack into a slightly more retracted position. Utilize the chest a little bit more because that seems fresh. Utilize the triceps a little bit less because that seems not so fresh. But still deciding what the working sets is gonna be. The plan for this session overall is just to accumulate, I don't know what I picked as my number off the top of my head, but something like at least 15 working reps at 420 pounds. Not a ton. You probably split across 3 working sets because I do have to do Larson press the day after tomorrow. So I do a little bit more volume on the Larson day, knowing that it'll be then a couple of days before I bench press again, and I do a little bit less on my comp day today. That being said, I think I do kind of want to hit like 420 for 7 if it's there. as like a good rep set to kind of establish my momentum going into my strength phase starting next week. A cool top set in that manner might be cool or good. So I might sandbag the first 2 sets. Usually in my hypertrophy phase, let's say I've got 3 working sets and the goal is to accumulate as much volume as possible. I'm usually looking for about the same number of reps on each set, maybe a couple more on the last one when I push the intensity a little bit more. But normally today would probably look something like a 3x6, I think would be the goal. But because I do want that set of 7, or three sets of 5 to 6, I might hit like 3 reps, 4 reps, and then go for 7. And that would give me 14. We'll see. It's pretty variable for me, but this hypertrophy phase, I've been looking more at working total volume than I have been hitting big sets, and it's yielded me good results. Okay, wow. Update for 20 for 4. First set, I'm sure it looked okay. Felt egregiously weak. The triceps are even more smoked than I thought they were. My only guess as to why would be my push presses a couple of days ago. Maybe because I'm doing those from a front rack position. It's not even that much weight. I think I was only doing like 300-ish, which is a weight I've done for some reasonable working volume strict. So I'm kind of unclear as to why I would leave my triceps as sore as they are. But alas, all we can do is make the session into a win. So I'll probably be looking for 4 or 5 on the next one. Take a good bit of rest and see kind of where we're at on that 3rd set. Who knows? Maybe I will surprise myself, but I don't want to hit any ugly reps. That's kind of my one stipulation. I think early in a training cycle, sometimes it's not a great idea to prioritize hitting a cool sounding rep set over hitting adequate total volume. But I do think it has a time and a place, as long as you don't find yourself doing it every single session where you're like, instead of hitting 4 sets of 8, I'm just gonna hit one kind of ugly all-out set of 8. That every now and then, I think that can have a great time and place as a training stimulus, as a fun workout in your hypertrophy phase. It can have some good correlation to your 1RM. The problem arises when every other session you kind of opt out of the straight set volumatic approach towards that singular max effort set. Some people respond well to that. I think most people do not have the technical base to be hitting all out higher rep sets without just drilling shit motor patterns. So that's kind of my thought process on it. We're gonna see how this goes. Drink some water, gonna eat a banana and see if that powers me up for this next one. Don't be a coward. A handsome fella intermission. Good boy. Who's a good boy? Oh. Ode mode. Ah! Ah!